If you ask me, the most lethal and terrifying threats in our beloved town never announce their arrival with a hail of bullets, a dramatic explosion, or a loud declaration of war. No, the truly dangerous ones walk through the front doors wearing a pristine, perfectly pressed white coat, holding a surgical scalpel, and smiling warmly right at you. We have seen mobsters, international spies, and unhinged megalomaniacs tear our community apart piece by piece over the decades. But there is something uniquely chilling about a threat hiding in plain sight, disguised as a healer. That brings us directly to Tristan, a man who is currently wrapped in so many layers of mystery that it is almost impossible not to obsess over his true motives. Right now, Tristan is strutting the sterile halls of the hospital, laying down incredibly strict rules and immediately getting under Britt and her notoriously fiery temper. On the surface, he is presented to us as just a promising, highly skilled new surgeon brought in to save lives, perform miracles in the operating room, and perhaps shake up the hospital board's stagnant status quo. He is actively clashing with established doctors, throwing his considerable weight around and demanding absolute perfection from everyone in his orbit. But guys, if you have been watching this show as long and as closely as I have, you know deep down that nobody just randomly drops into this town during a monumental, historic milestone without a massive hidden agenda operating behind the scenes. Let us peel back the very first layer of this complex mystery, starting with Jack. Jack is a man who exudes absolute, terrifying power. He is a formidable, ruthless force within the global intelligence community, a guy who rarely flinches, rarely backs down, and certainly never cowers in the face of danger. Yet, if you watch the screen closely, there is a distinct, undeniable shift in his demeanor whenever Tristan is in the immediate orbit. Jack seems unusually cautious, almost hesitant. He does not bark aggressive orders or throw his weight around Tristan the way he does with literally everyone else in his path. Why would a top-tier, battle-hardened intelligence operative tread so incredibly lightly around a civilian heart surgeon? Think about the recent highly charged encounters between these two men. When Jack interacts with Tristan, it feels significantly less like a vulnerable patient talking to a medical professional and much more like two high-ranking, dangerous officials silently sizing each other up in a high-stakes game of chess. This is exactly where it gets interesting for us as viewers. Jack is not intimidated by powerful mob bosses or seasoned, deadly assassins, but he is treating this newcomer with a level of calculated respect that screams equal, or perhaps even superior. It is almost as if Jack knows, without a shadow of a doubt, that Tristan holds hidden cards that could completely decimate his own carefully laid long-term plans. Then, we absolutely have to look at the Jason factor, which is perhaps the most glaring clue of all. Jason just made his highly anticipated, miraculous return from a brutal period of captivity, and who happened to have direct contact with him on that very flight back home? Tristan. You and I both know there are absolutely zero coincidences in this carefully constructed universe. Jason is highly observant, a man who has survived decades of violence by instantly reading the room and identifying hidden threats before they can strike. For Tristan to seamlessly insert himself into Jason's trajectory without triggering those legendary, highly tuned alarm bells proves that Tristan is highly trained in the art of deception and infiltration. This undeniable connection leads me to my first major, overarching theory. Tristan is deeply embedded in the shadowy world of global intelligence, and his prestigious medical degree is the ultimate, flawless Trojan horse. Think about it logically. What better way to silently monitor the most dangerous, highly connected people in town than by controlling their medical care and physical well-being? A trusted doctor has unrestricted, unquestioned access to highly secure files, private recovery rooms, and the most vulnerable, unguarded moments of a person's life. If you want to keep close tabs on Jack, Jason, and Jocelyn, the hospital is the absolute perfect, unassailable vantage point. Jocelyn just recently brokered a massive, highly classified, and incredibly dangerous deal with Z to secure freedom for Jason and others. She is now on the intelligence agency's radar in a huge inescapable way. If the agency wanted to ensure she does not step out of line, or if they wanted to closely monitor Jason's difficult transition back into civilian life, embedding a high-ranking lethal operative as a surgeon is a brilliant, virtually undetectable tactical move. Tristan is clearly not just taking temperatures, checking charts, and writing standard prescriptions. He is aggressively positioning himself at the very epicenter of the town's shifting power dynamics. By establishing immediate dominance over Britt and the rest of the medical staff, he is securing his fortress and building a base of operation. I truly believe his true mission is to silently oversee the intelligence agency's most valuable assets and most dangerous targets. He is acting as the invisible hand, making absolutely sure that Jack does not go rogue, Jason stays perfectly in line, and Jocelyn honors every single terrifying clause of her dangerous bargain. But wait, let me pause and play devil's advocate with myself for a second, because we need to look at all angles. Is Tristan really just a high-level agent taking direct orders from some faceless director in a distant office? If you look closely at his overwhelming arrogance, his absolute refusal to bend to Britt or anyone else, it does not quite fit the psychological profile of a standard, obedient operative. Agents, even the most elite ones, possess a certain ingrained deference to the established chain of command. Tristan acts like he personally owns the chain of command. He moves through the world with an inherent, undeniable entitlement that you simply cannot teach in a spy academy. That specific kind of swagger is born into a person, not manufactured. So, if he is not just a standard agent following orders, who exactly is he? What if his immense power is entirely hereditary? We know for a fact that Z is currently pulling the ultimate strings at the very top of the intelligence food chain, making life-altering decisions with a flick of the wrist. What if Tristan is actually Z's biological son? This shocking revelation would perfectly explain why a hardened man like Jack is walking on eggshells and showing such uncharacteristic restraint. You do not disrespect or challenge the boss's kid, especially when that kid is clearly being groomed to eventually take over the family business and rule the agency. Imagine the massive narrative weight and dramatic fallout of that specific reveal. Jocelyn is currently dealing directly with Z, desperately trying to navigate a dark, violent world she barely understands in order to protect the people she fiercely loves. If Tristan is Z's own blood, he is effectively the untouchable prince of the spy world, sent down to the messy trenches to personally oversee his father's most critical investment. It would make Tristan completely untouchable by anyone in town. He could operate with total terrifying impunity, knowing that the full, crushing weight of a global intelligence network has his back at all times. However, guys, I have an even wilder, much darker theory brewing in my mind, and the more I sit here and analyze the clues, the more it makes terrifying, undeniable sense. What if Tristan's lineage has absolutely nothing to do with Z or the intelligence agency? What if his roots actually trace back to the darkest, most manipulative, and most destructive family tree we have ever known in the history of this show? I am talking about the legendary villainous Victor. Yes, Victor is technically dead, but since when has a little thing like death ever stopped that diabolical man from ruining lives from beyond the grave? Victor was the ultimate unmatched chess player in a world full of checkers. He never made a single move without planning 10 steps ahead. And he always had hidden contingencies for his contingency. It is entirely frighteningly plausible that Victor had a secret son, hidden away from the world for decades, educated in the finest medical and tactical schools money could buy, and meticulously groomed for a specific, devastating moment in time. The Dark family has a long, twisted, heavily documented history of producing secret heirs and unleashing them upon the world exactly when their empire is at its absolute weakest point. Look closely at the current pathetic state of that once great family. The Dark Empire is fractured beyond recognition, its immense wealth scattered to the winds, its global influence rapidly waning. Victor, a man obsessed with his own legacy, would never ever allow his life's work to simply fade into obscurity. He would have left behind secret offshore accounts filled with billions, hidden loyalists waiting for a signal, and a master plan designed to bring the world to its knees. If Tristan is Victor's ultimate secret weapon, his arrival at the hospital is merely phase one of a much larger, much deadlier operation. He isn't here to take orders from Jack or Z. He is here to completely subjugate them. If Tristan is indeed born of that exceptionally dark bloodline, his brief interactions with Jason, Jack, and Jocelyn take on a much more sinister, terrifying tone. He is not monitoring them for the sake of national security. He is coldly evaluating them as potential pawns, useful tools, or fatal obstacles in his grand quest to rebuild his family's dark, sweeping empire from the ashes. He possesses the medical skills to literally play God with people's lives, the tactical training to easily outmaneuver seasoned spies, and potentially the immense hidden wealth of a fallen dynasty at his fingertips. That combination makes him the most dangerous man in any room he walks into, bar none. The pieces are all carefully arranged on the board, and Tristan is moving them with a terrifying, calculated precision that we have rarely seen. Whether he is ultimately revealed to be a top-tier spy protecting secrets, the intelligence director's privileged heir, or the vengeful, brilliant ghost of a fallen empire, one thing is absolutely, undeniably certain. The balance of power in our town is shifting dramatically right beneath our feet. When his true identity is finally dragged kicking and screaming into the light, the explosive fallout will alter the lives of Jason, Jocelyn, and Jack forever. But until that pristine medical mask finally slips, we are left constantly wondering, just whose heart is this mysterious surgeon really planning to cut out next?
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.